Hi, my name's Sam. I'm a junior at Green High School, and I'm a member of National Honor Society, and I'm involved in a lot of programs such as athletics and other clubs at Green High School, and I would be devastated if these programs weren't available next year because of the failed levy.
Hello, my name is Ricky and I'm a junior of Green High School, and I'd be devastated if this levy fails on May 3rd because it would definitely devastate Green High School to epic proportions.
In this part of our series, we'll compare Green to other school districts using data available from the Ohio Department of Education. This is comparative Ohio Department of Education data graphed by GSON. It can get a little busy, so look for orange bars for Green local schools, blue bars for comparable districts, black for the state average, and light gray for neighbors.
This graph shows the average teacher salary in Green. On average, teachers in Green make $57,000 a year, which is also the state average teacher salary. Teachers in comparable districts make an average of $59,000 per year. An average teacher's salary in Revere and Hudson is $11,000 to $14,000 higher than in Green.
When evaluating the cost of operating a school district, it is important to consider not only the salary but also the number of students per teacher. A district with a lean staff will have a higher number of students per teacher. Green has about 18 students per teacher. Comparable districts have 17 students per teacher, and the state average is 15.5 students per teacher. Green schools are near the top quartile with a lean staff. These ratios reflect all enrolled students divided by all classified teachers, including those who do not have a classroom, such as the special education or intervention teachers. The student per classroom ratio is about 25:1 in Green currently.
The average administrator's salary in Green is about $75,000, which is close to the state average and below comparable districts. And in Green there are about 220 students for each administrator. Superintendent Nutter consolidated roles in the administration last year, yielding $800,000 in annual savings and provided us with a lean administration. In fact, Green has one of the leanest administrations in the region and is much leaner than the state average in comparable districts.
The strong property value in Green provides leverage against a millage. A mill in Green raises about $170 per pupil, while the state average is $140 per pupil. You can see here that there is a wide range between the top and the bottom. A mill raises about $60 per pupil in Kansas City schools, but a mill raises over $330 per pupil in the Revere school system. This is one of the factors cited in the court battles over the constitutionality of Ohio's school funding system.
Green schools receive $4,700 per pupil each year from local property taxes. The state average property tax per student is also $4,700. Comparable districts collect $5,500 per pupil per year, and districts like Hudson and Revere collect over $8,000 per pupil from local property taxes. Green schools provide extraordinary performance at a modest cost.
This graph stacks individual expenditure pieces into total expenditure per pupil. The pieces of each stacked bar are for instructional, administration, building operation, pupil support, and staff support. Green spends about $9,000 per pupil each year, which is $600 less than comparable districts and $1,500 less than the state average. Expenditure per pupil on this graph range from $7,500 to $13,500 per pupil. Green is in the lower third of the districts in our region by rank order and in the lower quartile in terms of dollars of annual expense per student.
This graph breaks the total revenue per pupil into components for local, state, and federal funding. Green receives about $8,000 per pupil each year, which is $1,200 less than comparable districts and $2,500 less than the state average. Current expenses per student are $1,000 higher than revenue per student in Green. Issue 8 will raise approximately $1,000 per pupil and close this revenue gap. If the levy passes, 22 teachers will be let go in order to continue reining in expenses. Revenue per pupil ranges from $7,200 to $13,500 per pupil. Green is near the bottom of all districts in our region, both in terms of rank order and in terms of revenue dollar per pupil. Our revenue is well below state average and well below comparable districts. A moment of review shows that some districts receive a greater proportion of state funding and that many of these districts rank among the top of the revenue per pupil chart. The state funding formulas call for greater state support for districts with lower performance. Our academic success in Green means we must look to our community for support and not the state.
This graph shows the current property taxes on a $150,000 home in Greene and in neighboring communities. Greene is in the lower third in terms of property taxes going to schools. In Greene, this home would generate about $1,500 for the schools. If this household had an annual income of $100,000, then they would contribute about $1,500 of income tax to the Ohio school system. If they have one child in Greene schools, then they are receiving $9,000 in services for a fee of $3,000. That is the power of publicly funded schools. Pooling our resources to fund education is a wise investment in our community. In essence, we borrow from our community to educate our child. In order for this household to fully cover the cost of a kindergartner through 12th grade education at this rate, they would need to pay property taxes and income taxes in Greene for 36 years per child.
Let's recap Part 2. We have a lean staff and administration. Our teachers and administrators are paid below the state average and well below comparable districts. Our property tax rate per pupil is on par with state average. Our property tax rate is in the lower one-third of neighboring districts, and yet our academic performance is well above state average.
Expense per pupil is in the bottom quarter for the region and well below state average in comparable districts. Revenue per pupil is near the bottom for the region and well below state average in comparable districts. Issue 8 will allow Greene Schools revenue to increase to the point where revenue matches current expenses. Additional cuts will be made to continue controlling expenses. Thank you for your time and participation. Please watch Part 3, which takes a historical look at Greene Schools enrollment, growth, teacher salary, and expense per student.